almost full house. So thank you guys. Appreciate you coming. We'll start here in just a second. Karen, Greg, you guys ready? All right, good. All right. We'll call this to order. For determination of quorum, we have everyone present except Brandon, and she's not here tonight. So the rest of us are. So let's stand and do the say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any additions, deletions, or any changes to the agenda for tonight? I think there probably are some, so
Yes, and some are at your discretion. And,
Yes.
Staff does request to remove item 13A, discussion of an application by Keystone Custom Homes requesting conditional zoning approval for a 12-lot subdivision on Deal Road. So remove that.
okay. So we're removing that totally altogether, even though I think you guys are here. They're not even going to speak, correct, Greg?
That's correct. It's withdrawn at the request of the applicant.
Okay, even though you're here. Okay, so 13A is gone. Okay. Is that the only one that you guys know of?
That was all I was asking for.
Okay. I would like to pull out in the consent agenda 11D. I'd like to read this and do a presentation. And wherever you'd like to put that, it would be fine.
How about just before the consent agenda? There's no reason not to do it early.
Like 10A?
Or, yeah, 10A.
Or just make it 11 and then consent agenda comes 12.
Yeah,
Okay,
Renumber everything below.
renumber.
yeah, okay.
What are we adding?
So the proclamation comes 11,
Gotcha.
consent agenda number 12. Okay,
I do want to add one thing too. Under 13, I guess it was new business is going to be 14 now.
Yes, sir.
Under D, add an additional one. I'm looking at to see how after, let's say number 3, I guess it'll be I. One of environmentally sensitive areas. It's called for in the land use plan regulation of it. And I don't think we have any ordinance around that at this time. So when we look at the ordinances to comply with the land use plan, the ability of the town to designate and regulate environmentally sensitive areas.
okay. Okay, are there any others that you guys? Darcy, you okay?
Yep.
Okay,
I make a motion, we approve the amended agenda.
okay. Motion to approve the amended agenda as stated. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay. We'll move forward. The conflict of interest statement. In accordance with state law, it is the duty of every council member to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any council member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matter on the agenda? If so, please identify the conflict and remain from any participation in the matter involved. No conflicts?
I have none.
None? No conflicts? We're all good there. Mayor and council member reports. Anybody want to go first?
I'll jump in first. The thing I wanted to let everybody know about, the next Western Union Municipal Alliance meeting will be here at Weddington. We'll be hosting that. It'll be Thursday, October the 24th. And I guess kind of looking ahead a little bit, the meeting that we will be having in November, which will be our last WUMA meeting for the year. Brian Matthews, the county manager, has graciously offered to come and give us kind of an end of the year summary of how things are looking in the county. That meeting is scheduled to be at Stallings Normally, the meetings do start at 4 o'clock. The one here at Weddington will be starting at 4. But if I can work it out with Brian, that if he can make it a little later for folks to be able to attend that want to hear what's going on in the county, we'll try to move that back to 6 or 7. But I'm going to have to double check with his schedule. But just wanted to let everybody know about that.
I'll just say one thing. I have checked the paving schedule that the state sent us for the town, and they're working over in the Manda Lane area. And I've seen that there's working on a good number of the roads over there. So it appears they're working on what they said they would work. And I have been in contact with Amanda Helms asking for when I could put some input in with several other roads in our town that are on the bad shape list to see if they will get consideration for paving in the sometime near future. Waiting to hear back.
Okay. Todd? Darcy, anything?
I have nothing tonight.
Nothing? Okay. All right, we'll move forward. Presentation from our Union County Tax Administrator. Thank you for being here tonight.
Nice seeing you, Van, for the second time today.
We just push it. Okay. All right. I'll wave the right finger. Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you for having us tonight. My name is Van Harrell, Tax Administrator of Union County. Wasn't quite expecting a full house
Yeah, that's great.
compared to
They
some of the
wanted to
other
hear you, Van.
Yeah.
town meetings. I think they're here for other reasons, but no, we're going to take you guys through the process of what we're going through right now. I want to introduce a couple of people. If you can go to the next slide. Michael Thompson is one of my deputy tax administrators. He oversees everything real estate related, which is what this process is related to. Kristen Foxworth is the other deputy tax administrator. She oversees collections and real estate, personal property appraisal. Brad Helms is sick today, so he cannot be here tonight. He is my appraisal manager and is in direct charge of the reappraisal process. Next slide. So what are we doing and why are we doing it? North Carolina General Statute requires that a reappraisal be done every 8 years maximum. Is the maximum time frame allowed. There are certain counties and jurisdictions based on size and populations that have to do them quicker. Did you skip a slide? This is what that, go back. Next slide. Introductions, next slide. Here we go. That's it. Guiding rules, principles, and policies. This is as to why we do what we do. So number one, first and foremost, is to make sure everything is unfair and equitably. All taxpayers are treated the same regardless of their situation. They may not like the answer we give them, but they can rest assured that it is accurate, correct, and it's been thought through fairly and completely. We have to do the process due to general statutes. We'll get into those in a few minutes. In 2021, the Board of County Commissioners adopted a 4-year reappraisal cycle. I've been with the county for 20 years. Became tax administrator in 2017. During my time here, we've had 4-year cycle. We had a 7-year, 5-year, a 6-year. We had to get some normalization. We were on a 4-year cycle prior to 2009-10 timeframe when everything collapsed. We were due to do that reappraisal in 2012. The county opted not to do it. We ended up triggering a statute that required us to do it within 3 years. So that was a 7-year cycle. We did it again. I tried to get the board to do it in 2019. They decided to wait. We were mandated by the state to do it within 2 years at that point. So that was a 21 reappraisal. After that reappraisal, as many people, property owners in here may realize, there was a significant increase of about, the county-wide average was about 36%. Went to the board after that. I said, we need to standardize this. So whether the market's going up or going down, we're capturing it within a reasonable amount of time. So they adopted a 4-year cycle, which is pretty standard throughout North Carolina for counties in the Union County type situations, suburban counties, and even the large urban centers. The other thing governing what we do is the industry standards and best practices that are dictated by North Carolina Department of Revenue and the International Association of Assessing Officers. They kind of lay out our framework for our quality control measures, standards, and the things that we do in the reappraisal process. So what is it and why do we do it? It's a systematic review of all real property in the county. This is a real property only situation. Personal property, motor vehicles, and other items are assessed annually. If you own personal property, you're required to list that in January every year. Motor vehicles, we have a part in that, but then you pay your taxes at the DMV, as everybody knows. We have to be in compliance with state statutes and existing case law. We have to reestablish, we're required in that process to reestablish equity in the tax base. So if we've got some properties that are overassessed, some that are underassessed, our job is to bring that back to the middle and put everybody on the same playing field. Our job is to ensure assessed values are reflective of the current market. And that's the key thing. So we're not projecting where the market is going. We have to catch up to the market. The last reappraisal was in 2021. So if you build a house this year, it's valued as if it was 2021, not the price you pay for it today for tax purposes. Final thing is to avoid equalization. That is a process and statute that public utility companies like Duke Energy, the railroad companies, phone companies, Spectrum, cable companies, they are assessed by the Department of Revenue on their property taxes for all their infrastructure. If the real estate levels fall above or below a certain level, they get a significant discount on their tax rate or the amount of tax value they're assessed at. So we want to avoid that if at all possible, so everybody's paying what they should be based on the value of their assets. Spoke to the timing a few minutes ago. Just kind of scroll through here. We'll highlight the second one, the mandatory advancement of the reappraisal based on population size and county sales assessment ratio. We've been there. We were the first county in the state to trigger because we were too high. First county in the state to trigger because we were too low. So that led me to go to the board, like I was saying earlier, let's standardize this, make it 4 years because you avoid that portion of the statute. One more. So what is our timeline in this project? We started this job back in January 2023. So it is not an overnight process. It's not a few weeks. It takes time. Really, we would go back to the end of the last reappraisal. Once we work through the appeal period, we are headed toward the next one already. So January 2023, we submit our plan to the Department of Revenue. We presented the schedule. Well, we will be presenting the schedule of values to the Board of County Commissioners next Monday night. There's a public hearing on, I think it's November 3rd, which I believe is the first Monday in November, on the schedule of values, and then it's up for November 18th for adoption. Schedule of values is kind of, and again, this is a little bit on this, and I'm jumping ahead, but that is basically the rule book that we have to live by for the next 4 years. All rates of assessment, appraisal procedures, appeal procedures, everything that governs our office is in that book and approved by the board, and we cannot stray from that. January 1st is the effective date of the reappraisal. Starting in February 2025, we will begin doing another speaking circuit around the county, talking about the results of the valuations, not for individual properties, but for the county as a whole, municipal totals, those type of things. So we'll reschedule to come back at that point in time. Late February or early March is when every property owner will receive their notice, and then the fun begins. So we will, that appeal period is open from when you get your notice until the Board of Equalization and Review, which Mr. Smith is a member of, currently chairman. That board will convene late April and adjourn in late May. And you have until that adjournment date to file a new appeal. May 2025, again, that's the estimated deadline for appeals. Uniform schedule of values, we've already really touched on that. But again, the idea behind that is simply to capture the current real estate market based on the sales data that's been recorded with registered deeds in our office. Next slide. We're going to go into a brief overview of the current market, what we've seen. Go back and look at some key figures from 2021 and kind of show you where the market's gone since that point in time. Sales ratio, and what that is just a comparison of a property sale price to the appraised value for tax purposes. So if you've got a $100,000 property, that was a property that sold for $100,000, it's assessed at $50,000, the sales ratio there is 50%. We should be as close to 100% as possible. That's the idea of a reappraisal. So on January 1st, 2021, after that reappraisal was completed, our sales ratio was 99.86%. It's about as good as you can get without doing things you should not be doing in this process. Current county, well, this is as of July 10th. The current county median sales ratio is 65.94%. So that shows us being 36% below what market is countywide. There are some pockets. Most of the municipalities in the county are in the same neighborhood. So it's not, doesn't vary widely as a whole. Individual properties may vary more significantly than that. And different appraisal neighborhoods throughout the county will. But the county and municipality as a whole are kind of hanging at that same level of, I think the lowest is 64, the highest is roughly 67. Here's one of our telling pieces of data. Our median selling price of real estate countywide, January 1st, 2023 to July 5th, 2024, is $450,000. Compare that to our median assessed value in January 2021 of $293,000. Again, it's just another statistic that shows you where the market's gone since that time. Sales volume, in 2021 through 2024, we've had a little over 30,000 sales in the county. And that's all types of property, residential, industrial, commercial. Valid sales, which is what we base reappraisal on, is 23,255. And you may ask, what's a valid sale? It's a true arm's length transaction that had time and exposure to the market. There's no issues of, well, I sold my son this 10 acres. That we can't count that as a valid sale because generally that's going to be below market in those types of situations. Next slide. So how do we do this with a county, with a jurisdiction the size of Union County? We have to break it up into appraisal neighborhoods. You can see here, this is a snapshot of the town of Weddington, or map of the town of Weddington. Within Weddington proper, you have 69 total appraisal neighborhoods, 1 commercial, 68 residential. Properties, and the purpose of this is to group like properties together so that we can appraise them uniformly, because we do not have the staff or the time, even over 4 years, to go look at every single property in this county. So we have to do this through the process of mass appraisal. So if you've got 50 homes in a neighborhood that are similar, we may block that off as a single appraisal neighborhood for valuation purposes. And so that just, the color coding at each is an individual neighborhood. Countywide, we've got 765 of those neighborhoods. Next slide. Current market overview. Again, this is countywide data. I'll touch on some Weddington specific information here in a moment. Residential, you've already seen $450,000 for the median sales price. Commercial, $650,000. Industrial, slightly over $1 million. I think that the number that's gotten everybody's attention where I've been so far is this vacant land. The median sales price is at $78,000 an acre across the county. Next slide. Another chart here just showing our sales volume. What we're seeing is the volumes declining. Of course, 2024 is just through the end of June. So that's not a fair comparison to the rest. But up to that point, volume is slowing down since 2021, but prices are not coming down. They're more stabilized compared to where we've been in the past. So, sales volume by municipality and the county. County only sales a little over 21,000. I think our leading municipalities for sales activity, Indian Trails at 3,600, Monroe's at 3,900. I can see Weddington, you've had almost 1,000 sales during that time period of January 1, 23 to July of this year. Next slide. The median sales prices for those, for that same time period. So let's look at Weddington specifically. Your median sales price as of July of this year was $1.275 million for residential properties in the community. I'm going to compare that to, I looked this up before I came because I wanted to see how much it had shifted since January 21. Your median assessed value for tax purposes based on sales prior to 21 was $573,000. So that shows you where the market for Weddington proper has moved significantly, almost tripled in that time frame. Next slide. Our countywide sales ratios, residential 65.79, commercial 61.59, and industrial 40.67. So our industrial properties will more than double coming through this reappraisal process because they're 60% under market. So we've got to make that up. So the commercial industrial, there's going to be a significant residential increase as well for value purposes, not tax purposes. We are only one piece of this equation. I want to make sure everybody in this room understands that. We do not set the tax rate at any level, county or municipality. Next slide. Here's your ratios rated by town. You can see again, they're all pretty much in the same 3 to 5% range. I was mistaken earlier. I think our two lowest are 62%. The highest, looking at it here, my glasses will focus, 66.65. That's the town. of Whitney. So, again, this is just data for your information. You probably talked about for years. I know it's been talked about for the 20 years that I've been here, is that the county is almost all residential. This shows you the last 4 fiscal years, but we are still hanging around that 90% residential line. Ideally, you'd want that to be 65-35, residential to commercial industrial. Next slide. So what's contributed to the increase in high sales volumes and high sales prices? During COVID, we were a destinations area. I mean, people were selling. I mean, some of you may have, I don't know. But we were a destination location for a lot of people to move from the west and the north. Obviously, we're a suburb bedroom community for Charlotte. There's no denying that. Supply and demand, there's still some of those issues there. Supply chain issues, that's still ongoing at some levels. And I haven't heard the stories here, but there's a whole subdivision in Raleigh that everybody bought the houses, but they can't move in because the power company couldn't get the substations. They couldn't get the transformers. And so they're still trying to remedy some of that issue. Cost of construction materials and obviously interest rates are where they are. Next slide. So how are we getting the word out? We're doing this. This is really our primary, is face-to-face. We'll take the questions. We'll have the discussions because we want people to know. We've got a dedicated webpage, social media, video messaging, community Q&A sessions. We're constantly scheduling those. Any of you have organizations that you'd like to have us share this information where resident members are primarily Union County residents, let me know. We've got a website. Our website has a speaker request form on it that can be submitted. We'll be doing radio and newspaper interviews, already done one, and we're not even close to being finished with this process. And then civic groups, and we'll be reaching out to various community leaders to schedule some through their resources as well. So we'll touch on tax relief options real quick. Our most popular one is but needed one is the elderly disabled exclusion. Currently, they are able, if they qualify, which is all the bullet points below, they're able to exclude either $25,000 or 50% of their assessed value, whichever is greater. This is a tough one because the income levels are so low to qualify. We've been working with the state trying to, and we'll skip the next slide, but this is kind of summarized there. But we're trying to adjust that income limit. But so far, we're hitting a lot of resistance at the General Assembly due to various opinions and legal constraints and those type of things. But we're working on it. We get a lot of calls at our office, people that you got to do something. I'm 70 years old. I don't need to be paying school taxes. Well, I can't. There's nothing I can do about that. And so we're working with our resources at the county and the state to try to remedy some of this. There's a group of 10 of us county-wise that are working to try to expand that income qualification level. A few more. We have a disabled veterans exclusion where they can exclude $45,000 of their value from taxation if they are declared 100% disabled by the VA. 90% won't get you there. It's got to be 100% declaration. Circuit breaker program, which is similar to the elderly exclusion. It's a higher income level, but it's also a deferred tax bill. So if you're in that program and you pass away, then your kids have to pay those back property taxes with interest. So we don't have a lot of people that go into that program. Present use value is a farm type program. There's 3 classifications: regular farming, horticultural and forest land. But there's acreage and maintenance qualifications for that. And ownership and use requirements have to be met for every one of the tax relief programs that the state allows us to do. So, with that, I'm trying to make it painless because y'all got a busy night. But I'll be glad to take any questions.
Questions, you guys?
No, I've heard all this because I am the chair of the Board of Equalization Review, and I asked him about that. So, and I think he's totally right. This is one half of the equation, what the value of the property valuation is, and then it comes down to the town and the county to figure out ultimately what your tax bill is going to be. So, don't shoot the messenger over here when he says your house went up 50 or 60%, which it may well do looking at those numbers.
Some will be that, some will be less, some will be more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's we have seen some pockets where the land values by themselves are up to 200%.
Yeah.
Based on sales. I mean,
Yeah.
the sales are what the sales are, and we have to model our data after that, and that's the process we go through.
Did talk to my wife back there on the way out. She's president of the Rotary Club here, so she'd love to have you come.
Okay.
Yes. All right, no more questions, comments? Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you,
Appreciate you
Van.
being here. Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is our presentation from Classica Homes, the Hemby Road project. And do we do comments first or do the presentation first, Karen?
Presentation,
Okay,
public comment, not interaction, and then you guys have your comment.
gotcha. Okay, so come on up, guys. Good to have you with us. And Debbie, I'll get those people who are signed up. Cool, thank you. All right.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Brian Hall. I'm the president of Classica Homes. I have along with me today Larry Burton, who is on our land team, and Mark Heim, who's with our engineering firm, and we have a couple of other attendees from Classica Homes with us here tonight. We have presented here before, so I think we've told you a little bit about who we are, but just briefly, we're a small private builder in Charlotte, North Carolina. We build about 60 to 80 homes a year. We specialize in high-end luxury neighborhoods. We build inside of our own neighborhoods, develop, which is what this would be, as well as what we call on your lot homes, and in neighborhoods that are existing that have been developed by other people. This project is off of Hemby Road. Larry will speak more to the project itself. This is a neighborhood that has water and sewer capabilities, and we're looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Okay.
These are just some of the examples of neighborhoods that we've got throughout the greater Charlotte and some of our monumentation. Haven't gotten as far yet as where we would be, but it would be very tastefully and appropriate for the neighborhood. Location is Hemby Road in Matthews, Weddington. It's about 45 acres, 26 lots. The area in blue. Go to the next slide, please. When I first looked at this property, it's very oddly shaped, but then it just kind of one of these things that jumped out to me. So this is going to be one of the simplest land plans that we've ever done. It just is tailor-made for this structure, this development. The water's in the front, sewer's in the back, gently flows downhill. This is all pasture land, farms. The minimum lot size will be 20,000 square foot greater. Lot width is a minimum of 130 feet. And we have shown our largest footprint of a house with a swimming pool. Our buyers like swimming pools, but we just always want to see, will a swimming pool fit, and stormwater detention's in the rear. And I'm open to any questions that the council has.
Okay. At this point, we'll do public comment, right? That we're going to do.
Yeah, are you all?
You
Yeah,
finished?
unless
So
y'all got,
just hang loose
All right.
for a second, and we're going to have some public comment. If you want to take a seat, then
Okay.
guys can come up. And I'm assuming the one, I have two here, so I'm assuming the one with Chad. Chad, you're on both of them, but come on up, Chad.
Well, I did one for the regular town council, public comments.
Okay.
So just two things as far as this. I'm a little confused as where we are on the steps of this process because it initially was on the website as a conventional subdivision. and then it was adjusted to a conservation one. But then we had a community meeting scheduled, which comes after the site walk and the charrette. So when we asked about it, our understanding was it was a informal community meeting that was to gauge public feedback. And then from there, then we would go through the normal process of site walk, charrette, community meeting, this presentation here, and go to the planning board, et cetera. So we had the site walk, we had that informal community meeting, and then we just had the site walk. We didn't have the charrette. And so now, if we're going through the UDO process, we should be at a community meeting before we have this meeting. So I'm a little confused as to the process, where we are as far as, is there going to be a formal community meeting and then go to the planning board, or how are we doing this? Because it seems a little out of order. Then in general, just talking about the neighborhood itself, I didn't see a neighborhood green on here, which is required with conservation with a 10,000 square foot with the tree canopy around it, but there's plenty of space here to do it. I think it's something that could just easily be added because the topography, like Larry said, is a good topography. It should be easy to do. And then just as a call out of, it looks like it's got 20-foot setbacks from the front, which the town just changed to a 40-foot setback. So just something to call out there.
Okay, thank you, Chad. Kim?
I'm saving mine for the public comment.
Okay, I know you're on both sheets, but okay, that's cool.
Well, I also had it for the ordinance. I think this is public comment for just their thing, right?
Correct.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, all right. So you'll be on the next one, okay.
Address those comments, please.
When we get finished,
All right.
then we'll sort of go back and forth. Dawn Pinkston? Hi, come on up.
Good evening. I'm a resident of Weddington Glen, which is the community that directly abuts right here on the conservation plan. You see right above here. So I went to the informal meeting. We expressed as a community, we also have a petition from all the homeowners in our neighborhood. While we don't object to the Classica Homes presentation itself, we do take issue with the proposed connection of Dornoch into Classica Homes in Weddington Glen. I understand that there may be an ordinance where there's a requirement to have two points of entry or exit in a community. Weddington Glen is a small community. We have 35 homes. There's one way in, and then the rest of the homes are all around cul-de-sacs. So if they're allowed to connect this stub in, we essentially have a neighborhood where we have over 60 kids that are outside running around, allowing this community to come into our community to try to avoid any type of, stoplight at Hemby Road. There's really no purpose for them to be coming in here. So we're opposed to having any type of connection into our community. Most of us purchased in here because of the fact that it was a tight-knit neighborhood. There is, in fact, an emergency exit, a street that directly runs behind the fire station. So if there were to be any type of emergency, if someone needed to get back that way, there is an emergency exit there as well. But there really doesn't seem to be a purpose to end up connecting these two communities together. It doesn't allow for any other type of, access to another place. You're just winding around cul-de-sacs to try to get out of our community. So we're just here to express our opposition to that piece of it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Mike Perezzo? Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Mike Petruzzo, a neighbor of Dawn's, and to save everyone the sake of time, I have the same thoughts, and all of our neighbors have the same worry and concern that will get turned into a cut through. Again, we're made aware of the ordinance after the Classical Home presentation. Again, no one is opposed to it. Looks like they're going to do a fantastic job. But again, having an emergency exit where you can only get to 9 homes in that subdivision, again, that's why ordinances have variances, because it's not one size fits all. We have a lot of kids, a lot of young kids, and that's all we think about is the kids' safety in there. So please just consider a variance on connecting that.
Okay, cool. Thank you so
Thank
much. Okay, guys want to come back up and Council? Throw some comments, ideas, suggestions?
Greg, there was a slide that I provided you earlier. This shows both the Weddington Glen neighborhood and our neighborhood. So from a perspective of connectivity, we understand it's part of the ordinance. We're not opposed to it. They wanted to say, don't do it. We have no objection. From a fire code, we're probably all going to have to do it because the fire marshal has jurisdiction, whether it be in this format or have a gate. From a connectivity standpoint, our residents will not be using going out through the Weddington Glen neighborhood. It's going around your arm to get to you know what. And so it's most likely their residents are going to be coming through our neighborhood to get out on Hemby Road. If the town of Weddington wishes or the town wants it to be a fire access, that should not be a burden and cost to Classica Homes. They need to seek permission from the fire marshal, and that would be a cost to them to put in that gate. And there's also an annual cost to maintain and monitor that gate that they have to file with the town of Weddington, and that also should be a cost to Weddington Glen. From the comment from the setbacks, those are 40-foot front setbacks, so it does meet the ordinance requirement. The buffer along the front is 100 feet, and I believe we do meet the 10,000 square foot, what was it termed? Urban area? Or,
Yes.
yes, and so I believe we do meet that because we've got the 40% green area that's required.
Okay,
So open any questions from the board.
okay. Questions, guys?
And just confirm, you said the minimum lot size is going to be 20,000 square.
30,000.
Or
30,000 or greater.
30,000.
Oh, it's- No, yeah, 20,000 square foot, 130 foot wide, which the ordinance says 120, but we're 130 wide. But these are 20,000 square foot or greater. Or greater.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, there was one other thing that was brought up.
And all your stormwater erosion control flows to the back,
That's correct.
and it's 100 years, correct?
Yes.
That's the code.
Mark has one other question.
I do want to correct one number. So in the conventional plan, the minimum width is 120. In the conservation plan, the minimum width is actually only 80 feet. Our smallest lot's 112 feet in width. So just want to make sure we have that.
So it's 112 is the
Yes. Yeah.
minimum. Okay.
There was a question on.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
On stormwater, I
Yes.
assume everything runs to the rear?
Yeah. So we'll have drainage, curb and gutter in the roadway, and then we will capture the runoff in the rear of the lots, and all of that will be directed into the roadway and into the stormwater retention
And
structure.
It's a 100-year pond, correct?
I believe
That's our rule. So
it'll be
make
designed.
sure it
It'll be
is.
designed to the minimum standard that's
And
required.
be very
Yes.
cautious of the neighborhood next to you there. They're having some issues in their development right now in stormwater caused by various reasons I'm not going to go into.
Sure.
So make sure nothing runs off onto them. please.
Yeah, and that's why we want to capture the water in the back of the lots to make sure we bring it to the front and it's actually treated. We don't want to be treating any other water that's coming onto the property, so we will bypass that. But everything that's land disturbance on our site will get into that pond, and then will be released at a slower rate.
If you were looking at the Weddington Glen property, there's 4 lots that go towards our project. There's a creek or a ditch line that separates the two. So all of their water flows to that ditch line, and then all of our water flows to the left of the page.
Okay. Yeah, I spent over 3 hours out there a couple Saturdays ago talking with residents. And my suggestion would be the same as Tom's. Just make sure nothing comes across, you grab it all. If you have to go overboard on your stormwater retention.
One of the better things about this site, as it is currently a soybean pasture, no mass grading is required. All we're doing is putting in the streets and building houses.
Let me address the cut through. I was out there talking with the residents also and heard their concerns, and I really sort of feel the same way. If kids are out there playing in the cul-de-sac, I wouldn't want cars cutting through. And so I know there's somebody that's put up a privacy fence, and so I do think probably that needs to come down. But I do think, and I'll get into this later, I talked with our fire chief, and that cut through probably needs to be there, but I would say gated to where for an emergency, for fire trucks to get through. So my thought is to have it, but only for emergency for the fire department. Because and I'll get to it in a little bit, because we're going to talk about cul-de-sacs
Yeah.
in a little bit.
That's a real issue here, because what they've done is broken up a cul-de-sac.
Right.
And given separate. And I'll be honest, I would think that more people would be going into your neighborhood than going into the other neighborhood, because you can get to Hemby Road a lot easier if you're in the back of that neighborhood and go through yours. But
Right.
it cuts both ways.
Right. So I think for safety, I would have it there, but I'd have it, one of these gates. I understand the fire department recommends a type of gate. You just slide a tube across it and it opens up, and it's locked. You can't just open it, but it's a
Knox
fire
box, yeah.
Yeah, and the fire department,
Yes.
suggested that kind of thing. And again, it's for fire or
Emergency.
it's any kind of emergency to ambulance.
And we've seen that implemented on a number of projects where secondary access for emergency services only is a concern. So
Yeah.
And we're not opposed to that, Mayor, at all.
Yeah.
If that's what council wishes and the residents next door would like. But we would ask that they bear that cost of that, since that's what they're willing, and also that they bear the cost of the annual maintenance and inspections.
And that's something we would have to discuss.
Yeah.
But
My question would be, how long would that then make the cul-de-sac from Hemby all the way to the end? What would be because then it would not be broken. It creates a longer cul-de-sac situation. You have any idea how long it would end up being?
I think that cul-de-sac currently, from where Doorknob comes in, is about a little over 400 feet. Actually, I think it'd be longer than that. It's probably, with those being 110-foot lots. Oh, I'm sorry. That would be from the intersection down there. Yeah, I mean, it'd be well over 1,000 feet in length.
Yeah.
I don't recall what
Which-
your requirement
Could
is, but
become problematic.
And you're measuring from Hemby Road back.
and
All
we
the way
really, yeah,
to the back, yes.
yeah, I think you'd be somewhere in the 12 to 1,300 feet
Yeah.
range.
Because we've been trying to discourage them. like
Yeah.
that.
and we're going to talk more about
Yeah,
that.
we'll-
If you guys hang with us,
yeah.
we'll discuss that later and more of a thing. Another thing I tell you, I wouldn't mind seeing up there in the front, because you don't have any. And again, we're going to talk about this also. Any kind of view shed, for people driving by. I'd like to see a nice berm. I know Bromley, Atherton.
The people across the street have it, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to see a nice berm in there, just sort of it blocks the view. I think you can do it. You guys plant great shrubbery and trees and whatnot. Something like that. It's also great for noise retention.
We would actually
Aesthetics.
prefer that.
Pardon?
We would prefer that.
Okay.
And so what we would do is take the strippings from the road cuts and burn them along Hemby Road.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know you got 100 feet there, so you should
You
have
got
room to do that.
That's actually, that would be our preference.
And I think
Save
it,
you
I think it
money.
look yeah, and I think it'd look nice too.
What would the, I guess, preferred width of that berm and plantings? I mean, 100 foot would be quite a bit, but I mean, we can
Yeah.
capture all that in, the front 30, 40 feet and really landscape that edge, and that would be sufficient.
Because we're concerned about a nice entrance, a nice presentation. Just it needs to look like the other subdivisions in the area too. And in Whittington, there's a lot of nice berms and that have been landscaped very nicely.
It's going to behoove us to make that entrance as nice as possible.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anybody else? I have a question for Greg here, if you guys don't. Now, how did the charrette, the presentations and all that get turned around a little bit?
I think the applicant could speak to that a little bit as well, but everybody is correct. They did get turned around. The order of operations is a charrette and a site walk to envision what the property is going to look like, a community meeting to introduce that topic so that strictly the residents in the area and the developer could speak outside of a council meeting or outside of some city function. And then it's brought to y'all for a presentation and public comment, which we're having right now. And then we actually get into the submittal that would be voted on by the planning board and the county council. Palatka, knowing that they had another pending project and we were changing some of our court codes and ordinances, you know, some of the motivation between myself and the developers, they just wanted to get a feel for the project to see that it was feasible going forward and understand what the rules are at first. So they wanted just a community meeting and a presentation to you guys as soon as possible, so they felt confident going forward with the stringent requirements that Weddington has for a submittal. So things like septic engineering, some things that cost quite a bit of money later down the road. They wanted to take the temperature of the community and the council before they proceeded with some of those more expensive due diligence items.
Right.
Yeah, ideally, we would have had a site walk with raw land and no site plan kind of considered, but this is a unique circumstance that it's flat, it's field, there's not a lot to study that was out there. And so they had a site plan ready to go very early on, which negated the need for a strict charrette type design. But there was some trepidation on, we want to know what the town feels about this before we proceed with their due diligence.
Now, you're still going to do the community meeting, even though we've sort of done it out of order?
Right now, it's out of order. If they want to have another community meeting, that needs to be discussed with them.
Because I think the community, excuse me, I'm sorry, needs an opportunity to at least speak into it, like we do with everyone. So I even though we're sort of swapped it here, I think we need that. Would you guys?
We've had the neighborhood meetings and we've had the site meeting.
I don't remember the community meeting.
At the school. Planning member Dita was at the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, we had about 30 or 40 people in attendance at that meeting. It was advertised.
Okay, maybe I missed that then.
Yeah, there was a community meeting held. It was just as stated, it was out of order. We had
Gotcha.
done the charrette.
So that was held before the charrette and the site walk was done.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And just another clarification on the comment earlier. As part of the process, to be able to get your density yield, you present your yield plan. And so that from the yield plan, this is how we got our count for our conservation plan. We've never intended to do the 40,000 square foot lot. It's always been, all right, what does your yield achieve you to know that what we are allowed to do on the conservation?
Right.
And that's why there were two plans.
Gotcha. Okay. I know at one time you were looking at doing more, correct? Or am I wrong here and you scaled
No,
back?
we during the whole process, we lost one.
You lost one lot?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
That meeting was held on the 19th.
Got, okay.
At Weddington High School.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I know you did the other one for the Forest Lawn
At Weddington High School.
thing, and I went to that one. Okay. All right. Any more questions? Any more thoughts? Okay. I think we're good.
I think we'll just need to have a discussion, probably give them some feedback on the entry road and the cul-de-sac length and all that. We probably owe that to them after we have some kind of conversation.
Right.
Because they got to get a final plan to go through, and that's going to be important to them on what goes on with that access or non-access road.
Right.
Well, do we need to talk about that now?
I'm not.
I mean,
Planning staff can work that out with them.
Yeah.
We've heard we've heard the council's input and so far, and so
Right.
they can get that to work out.
So once we get that feedback, we can submit a plan that would push us towards the planning commission.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. I mean,
Right. Right.
just
'Cause
trying-
we've got to discuss this other before we get to that. So, okay. Cool. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming and,
As timely as possible because our clock is ticking with ourselves.
yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. Thank you. If you guys choose to stay, you can stay and listen to the rest of it or whatever you need to do. Okay. The next is public comments in general. And Chad, I know you had signed up for that.
So I had two things. One, I watched the Union County Commissioners meeting and saw on their consent agenda, they did approved for the 2 additional deputies. And I just want to thank town council and staff for all their work. Safety is important to us, and that I think is well-deserved work there. The second thing is there's a neighborhood that I just wanted to bring the town and staff's attention. It's Belmar. It's a 10-lot subdivision that's currently under construction. On the development page, it was approved in January of 2021, but I can't see where it really went to the planning board and the town council. It looks like it was a sketch plan was mentioned, and then it was going to be for approval, come to the previous town council and planning board. But in the minutes, I don't see where it is. But like if you drive by it, it's got a 30-foot buffer, which violates our ordinances. It's got a lot of issues as far as if you look at the berm and the landscaping. There would probably be code violations maybe to look into. But it looks like some of the houses may not even have proper setbacks. I'm not really sure. But it looks like it's kind of a mess. There's a stormwater pond back there that I'm not sure if everything is compliant there. And I just wanted to bring it to the town council's attention on that. And last thing, just to clarify, so our understanding, like when we emailed the town, when the community meeting was scheduled for this development, that this was the feeler one, but the response back we got in an email was that it would go through the whole process. So there would still be a regular community meeting before it would go to the planning board, that wasn't like the official community meeting. So that was what I was asking before, it seeming like it was out of order.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thank you, Chad. Kim?
Oh, okay. I just added some notes because that was a bit frustrating to listen to as a resident because, you know, we come here week after week and it just sounded like a developer just kind of set the, like they should not be dictating the order in which we do meetings and just decide that. We have the UDO for a reason, and the rules and procedures should just be that. It should be the rules and procedures, and we should follow that. And so if it was out of order, well, then it shouldn't be out of order. Like residents have the right to follow the UDO, and it says very clearly how it should be, and that's just how it should be. So I'm just going to leave that there. Another thing that I was not here at the last planning board meeting. So as a lot of people, I watched it online. And I was, well, first of all, I'd like to request for the document that was talked about by our chairman, Travis Manning. He talked about an email that was, I made notes, that was from the lobbyist groups out of Charlotte. So I would love for that document to be made public and the response from the town, because it just sounded a little threatening. It was, he kind of stated that it had been privately sent to him and that Weddington had been put on notice. And I just think it's important for residents to have confidence that our planning board, well, number one, that they understand that they are serving our elected officials, officials that the residents have elected. They are not elected. They are serving our elected officials. And so we don't want them making decisions, number one, at the fear of any lawsuits. And we also do not want you to make any decisions on the fear of lawsuits. We have a lot of professionals in Weddington. And we have a lot of resources in Weddington that if you need legal counsel, we can get you legal counsel. We have phenomenal legal counsel all over North Carolina. So we can get you the top legal counsel, whatever you need. So we would love as residents to see what was that letter? Because number one, it was put out in a public meeting. So yes, we could FOIA it, but we shouldn't have to because it was made in a public meeting. So we would like to see the document and the response, because we need some assurance that our town is going to fight for the residents, not for the developers, because we like the direction that our town is going. And we do not want any developers to come in and bully our town council into anything. And so we are backing you. We will stand behind you, and we do not fear any lawsuits. So, and I had some other things, but I think that is mainly it.
Cool. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Our public safety report, does Deputy Wren?
Deputy Wren is not here this evening.
Oh,
Your
he's
public
not here?
safety,
I
he
didn't
is
see
not.
him. Okay.
He's too busy arresting people.
I think he's on a different project, but that's neither here nor there.
Are you going to convey anything? to
He had
us?
nothing to convey. The report is in the packet. And it looks like that, things that are aware, people are aware of what's been going on, and
Yeah.
the sheriff's
I will
office is
just
on
say-
top of it.
Yeah, and I will just say, real briefly, I've tried to put out some social media posts. I've been in contact with Chief Deputy Underwood, the Union County, their communications department, Deputy Wren as well. So these break-ins that we've been having, I've been trying to put out, if you've read any of the posts, this is what they have said, and not my suggestions. This is what's coming from the sheriff's department. And the big thing is, excuse me, and all the departments of the sheriff's department are saying this. If you have an alarm system, arm it. Lock your car doors. Shut your garage doors at night. Watch out for your neighbors. Just be observant and be careful right now. Don't walk around in fear. That we don't need to do that. But just be observant and just be aware of people in your neighborhood. The Homeland Security, the FBI, Union County law enforcement, they're all working together and solving these. Yes. Well, it's coming. Mecklenburg County and Union County, York County are getting hit particularly hard with these break-ins. Now it's come across to us. So anyway, I won't ramble on, but just be aware and be vigilant. So
And I do want to thank Deputy Wren. He did catch the one person who's been caught. He caught him.
Oh.
yeah, he crawled into a storm drain and got him.
Actually, the guy was in the storm drain. He basically told him to come out or something good wasn't going to happen, and he came out.
Well, he told me he crawled down there and grabbed him by the feet and pulled him out.
That is what
So
he
I don't
told
know.
He did.
So, okay.
He did say that don't let anybody tell you that short people can't run.
That's right.
He told me he ran over a third of a mile after this guy and kind of took the angle and cut him off. And I think that guy, gentleman, is still residing in the Union County Jail.
He
at this
is,
time.
and yes.
And evidently giving us some good information.
So, and the guys are good. That's what they do. And so they're having a hard time, but they're working on it. They've got numerous detectives and forensics teams working on this case. So anyway. All right, we'll move on. Is Paula Smith here? Paula, come up if you would to the mic. Paula is Tom's wife, and they're both heavily involved in the Rotary, and both involved in the polio eradication part of that, and funding and what they're doing. So I have I don't have the final copy. I think Karen does that, but I have a proclamation I'd like to read and present to the Rotary. And it goes like this. It's Proclamation P24, 2024-4. Whereas Rotary is a global network of neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who unite and take action to create lasting change in communities across the globe. And whereas the Rotary's motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, follow high ethical standards, and promote goodwill and peace in the world. And whereas Rotary in 1985 launched Polio Plus, and in 1988 helped establish the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which today includes the World Health Organization, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Gavi, the Vaccination Alliance to immunize, can't even say it, the children of the world against polio. And whereas polio cases have dropped by 99.9% since 1988, and the world stands on the threshold of eradicating the disease. And whereas to date, Rotary has contributed more than $2.2 billion to countries, to countless volunteer hours to protecting nearly 3 billion children in 122 countries. And whereas these efforts are providing much needed operational support, medical staff, laboratory equipment, and educational materials for health workers and parents. Whereas, in addition, Rotary has played a major role in decisions by donor governments to contribute more than $10 billion to the effort. And whereas World Polio Day is held on October 24th in celebration of the birth of Dr. Jonas Salk, the researcher who developed the first polio vaccine in 1955. And therefore, I, Jim Bell, Mayor of the Town of Weddington, on behalf of the Weddington Town Council, do hereby proclaim October 24th World Polio Day and encourage all citizens to recognize the extraordinary efforts that have led to countless lives being saved from polio and to join the fight with Rotary International for the polio-free world. In witness whereof, I hereby set my hand and cause the seal of the town to be affixed this 14th day of October, 2024. Just to you, and you have the original, and you will get that. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And
Appreciate it.
doing, and
Turn the piece of paper around so it looks like you got something.
And so, and Tommy's doing as well.
My favorite.
Thank you so very much.
If I could say something, I am the polio chair for the Rotary District 7680, which is about 14 counties around here. And we raise funds for this. Polio raises Rotary raises over $50 million a year. The Gates has matched that 2-for-1. And there's close to $1 billion annual budget, and it's used to vaccinate 450 million children a year. And that's what it takes to eradicate this disease and work on that. We're down to 2 countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan. We have cultural and poverty and just cleanliness issues in fighting the disease there, but we're very close. And I think year to date, we've had 50 polio cases. When we started the effort, we were over 350,000 a year. So that gives you the context of where we are. So it's a hard job, but we're working very hard on it. Thank you for being here.
Yes. Thank you, Paula. Thank you so much. Let's give her a applause. Thank
And their meetings are Thursday morning at the Swim and Racket Club at 7:30.
you. And I don't know if I said her.
I'd like to invite anyone who would like to come. We're celebrating 20 years in Waxhaw and Weddington. So if anyone's interested, 7:30 at the Weddington Swim and Racket Club. We're there every single Thursday, except for on the 5th Thursday of the month, we have an evening meeting. So.
And I don't think I said Paula is the president of the club. Yes. So, all right. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with items A, B, and C as listed here? Now, I do have a question about the town minutes. There were some mistakes that we found, or some discrepancies. So I don't know
They
if
were
we
amended, I believe.
were they.
I never got a copy.
I never got a
so
copy of
I
the
can't-
amended minutes. Thank you.
So I'm not. I
I
can't
think you
prove
need
it.
to sign.
Yeah.
I just sent the blurb that was going to be amended, if that's.
Okay.
They sent, just the individual part, I believe.
find that.
Can Paula take that one, or does it
Yes.
need to be?
She said you can bring it home.
Oh, I can
You
bring
can
it
bring
home.
home? Okay. And I'm gonna
Because
say
she's
right
going
here.
home.
Yes.
She's leaving. So
And you have
take
a-
the one with the sticker to her.
Yeah, the folder to
One
put
with
it
the
in.
sticker, okay,
Okay. All right. That's it right there.
that is good.
All right. Let's do this. So are we good with the consent agenda? I mean, not the consent agenda, the minutes? Have we updated those?
Why don't we pull the minutes off the consent agenda and vote separately as amended? So
Yeah.
we'll just pull it off and we'll do that second. So
Yeah.
just do the consent agenda without the minutes, and then we'll do a motion to approve the minutes as amended
Okay.
separately.
Okay. Great idea. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with items B and C?
So moved.
Moved. All in favor?
Well, I do have one question, and I've been trying to find it in here during the meeting.
Okay.
One of these things, I believe, had reference to fire departments, Leslie. I'm not sure if it's one of these or somewhere else in
That
this
was
package.
that was the fees for like,
No,
that's the one where I read about the fire departments, about
The different fire-
the alarms that if,
in
yeah.
the various fire departments. Okay, that's where it was
And
then.
the
Okay, it was
alarms.
driving me crazy because it still referenced Providence Fire Department
Yeah,
and
and that need to be.
Stallings Fire
Mhm.
Department. Okay, that's where that is.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. So to a motion to approve, all in favor? Darcy, you're in favor? Yes.
Well,
for the
meeting notes?
Yeah, for the consent
for the
agenda.
consent
Oh,
For
consent
items
agenda,
B and
yes.
C.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, that's approved. To approve the minutes from last month and as a separate consent agenda item. Again, have those items been corrected?
I can't approve them because I can't read them.
Okay,
I just sent you all the blurb earlier today that was being changed, and I changed them in the minutes. Do you need me to send them to you?
Well, that was even, because I emailed you and you said there was discrepancies on that.
Yeah, so that's for you to you guys to.
okay, so,
Why don't we go ahead and remove this and push it, table it to the next meeting to approve these minutes, and we can get it straightened out for the next
yeah,
meeting.
I agree. I think it's a great idea. So, all right, so we'll table this item and come back to it. Okay, so we're going to move on to old business. There is none. New business. We're looking for a text amendment to Town of Weddington for Unified UDO. This just pertaining to buffering, and in this case, we're talking about this would be a cold. What am I trying to say? Berms.
That was more than berms. It was the
And the
100
50-foot buffer,
It was the
Well,
100-foot.
removing the berm language and the 50-foot buffer
Right.
language from the UDO.
So we have both that we're going to discuss. We have the 50-foot,
Right.
and we're going to discuss the berms.
And there was a
The
paper.
planning board did forward language to a recommendation to remove the berm language from the UDO.
Okay, and I'm going to add some comments to that.
Okay.
Okay. Greg, would you like to say something pertaining to
Yeah,
the?
just, Mayor, Council, this text amendment would amend section D 917A, which is our residential, requirements and guidelines. And this would specifically tackle subsection O, which deals with buffering. So there's two items in this text amendment and in your staff report that this addresses. One is that the current language of the code exists regarding buffers, and I quote, "A buffer of at least 100 feet wide of existing woodland, providing adequate visual screening throughout the year is required. The buffer width may be reduced to 50 feet if plantings are installed to include year-round screening." So to summarize, that states the buffer should be 100 feet, but if you provide year-round screening and provide that, it can be reduced as low as 50 feet. This text amendment would just straight up remove the reference to the 50 feet. It's been made clear by residents and members of the council that the preference for developers is to have a 100-foot buffer. It's created confusion amongst applicants on whether they can do the 50 or not. If our preference is clearly 100-foot without an exception for 50 feet, staff recommends in this text amendment to remove any reference to 50 feet. The 100 feet or the more stringent standard would be the applicable standard for all future developments. It also references Just below that, in that same subsection O, earthen berms are not a permitted design approach. And so staff doesn't see any problem with berms. They've been applied in other places in the town, and having one-on-one consultations with members of council, the political leadership. They also may be in favor of berms. And so this was brought to the planning board's purview in September. The planning board in late September recommended to approve this text amendment as written. So it would eliminate the sentence talking about 50 foot, and then it would eliminate the sentence regarding earthen berms being prohibited. So to be explicitly clear, this would allow developers to build earthen berms in future subdivisions. So there are two items to address. They're both in the subsection 0, and they're provided in your staff report and as a text amendment for your consideration.
Okay. I want to open this up for comments. I know we had talked about this and really, gave it a thumbs up last time, which got it to the planning board. So I feel like, we know which way we're going to go. I have a question here for you guys. Throw it out for conversation.
Mayor, we need to have the public hearing.
Okay,
So do you want to call the public hearing first and then have your comments?
sure. Let's call it public hearing, okay? We have a public hearing. And at that point,
Do we have signups?
no, we have no signups for public hearing. So that's why I didn't go into
But
it.
you have to have, we have to have it on the record that we have
Okay,
the
so
public
public
hearing.
hearing is closed. How about that? Thank you. I was skipping a step for that.
It's good.
But anyway, a part in the UDO talks about the 100-foot buffer, or I say 50-foot buffer, when it comes from subdivisions to commercial property. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg. So right now there's 50 feet between a subdivision, and somebody could build if we got to that point. Right now we don't do that outside the overlay, but you could butt a commercial property up to 50 feet of a residential neighborhood. I would like to see, at least be 100 feet buffer, just like what we're doing for the roads, for the front of a development as well. So there would be 100-foot buffer if that were to ever happen. At least, does that make sense? I know you're looking.
I was just trying to see, because that's not in the language that we're looking at.
It's
right?
not.
It's not. Do we need
So
to
It needs
do
to go
that
through the whole
separate?
Process, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And we can start that process, and I'd like to do that.
Yeah, so to be clear, the two items that will be struck from the text I've shown up on the screen as strike through, and then I've actually highlighted those. So 50 feet removed, earthen berms removed. This is all in O-1, buffering thoroughfares. What you're listing is in this section right below it,
Right.
right after it, buffering other uses where that requirement is 50 feet. That was not part of the planning board's recommendation, but it is in the same section, and it's free to be discussed by the council.
Can we discuss it now, or do we need to take it through the process?
This exact section was provided to the planning board. They didn't necessarily recommend or, see issue with that subsection 2. Either way, they're an advisory board. They merely provide recommendations. You guys are the decision makers. I think we've talked about the topic from the planning board. So if there's additional changes you'd like to make or not follow the recommendation or add additional conditions, I believe you're free to do so.
Okay. Okay, so I open that for discussion for you guys.
I want to go back to the original proposal here, and it talks about at least 100-foot wide of existing woodland. And like in their case, a lot of places there's no woodland. I think we need to be clear. 100 feet is for all areas. And 2, if you have basically a cow pasture out there, it probably needs to require a berm to provide the visual structure, in place. Because the woodland does it at 100 feet. And if you don't have a berm, but just 100 feet of soybean field there, you're not doing anything. So it seems to me that concept of a berm on unforested land to provide the visual barrier in the 100-foot barrier would be reasonable. That is my thought.
Okay.
You know, first off, I know, we had the discussion last meeting just amongst ourselves to send this to planning board, that I was not in favor of increasing the setback to 100 feet. However, from what I'm hearing from Greg, and the planning board voted unanimously for it, that's what's being presented tonight. I can support that.
Mhm.
But if we're going to start going back in and making more textural changes, and now we want to talk about adding another 100-foot buffer for, all the way around, I think we probably need to, we can go ahead and discuss that, but I think before we vote on it, it needs to, I'd
Go
like
through
for
the
the
process.
planning board to have another
Yeah.
shot. to
I
look
think
at
it's a
it.
good
I'm not
I'm fine with that.
objecting to these suggestions at all. I'm just saying that, a lot of work went into getting this particular language done. It went through the hoops. Let's just make sure we're being
No, and
consistent.
I have no problem with that
I think
either.
the commercial thing clearly, in my opinion, needs to go
Yeah.
to the planning board.
Because I'd hate to have some kind of commercial thing set
So
up
if
next to the
that's
house.
if that's supposed to go, this is where it would go, then I'm fine in favor of the berms. Yeah, if it's just, a pasture out there that they're building on, that's great. That's fine by me. And then the 100-foot that needs to be discussed as well, that's fine. But let's just send it, let's make those changes, or direct staff to make those changes. And
Okay.
I'm just making this suggestion, and then send it back to planning board. And so that when we vote on it,
Right.
more eyes have looked at it.
Yeah.
And we
No,
got, again,
yeah.
I'm confused. The planning board's already agreed to 100-foot buffers.
Right.
And they have agreed for the allowance of berms, because they discussed both of the two. I don't see where those two components would need to go back for discussion. Now, I can see where a 100-foot buffer with commercial property would need to go back to them, because that wasn't part of the
Well, I think that's what he's
discussion.
talking about.
that's
Yeah.
what the mayor was.
Yeah, what he was talking
Yes.
about, I think needs to go back
Right.
as well. Talking about a buffer between residential and commercial needs to go back for discussion, because that's a separate issue.
Well, I guess nailing it down for me, I want to be voting on what's up on the board for us to look at and the public to look at, and that everybody's had a chance to look at and comment on it.
Yeah.
So if we want to make some changes, that's fine. Nothing I've heard I disagree with. I'm just saying,
You just want to do the
rather than
process.
doing it right now, hey,
Yeah.
let's
No,
pen
I'm
and ink
okay
it
with
right
that.
now. Let's have it.
Darcy, you have any
Okay.
comments on this?
No, I mean, we've talked about it, so I'm
ready to
to vote.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion, if we do nothing else, we need to put on the books the 100-foot buffer. And
Right.
if we need to come back and add allowance, a requirement for berms on non-woodland areas, we do send that through the process to be added, reviewed for a
Right.
future date.
Yeah, I do prefer that we not add new writing tonight on the fly. I would rather, if it goes through planning board, or even if we would table this, but I know you all do not want to do that. So I would do recommend we
Right.
just vote as is tonight and instruct staff to go ahead and make those, go through the
Okay.
process with the other recommended
And I'd like
changes.
to, before we have an instruction, I'd like to comment on berms a little bit more, so, we can get all of this at one time. I'd sent you, Greg, some berms. Can you pull up the pictures of, here's Bromley. I think some of our neighborhoods have they've done great with their landscaping, their berms. Can you hit to the next one? Here's a berm. I think this is Atherton.
Atherton, yeah.
You see that it and then again, these are more mature, neighborhoods have been there a little longer. The trees have had a chance to grow, and I get that. And so you see, the houses are, you can see them a little bit, but they're, there's a lot of, they're hidden to a large degree. So go to the next one. See, they've done nice jobs on these berms. And I don't know if there's another one that you get, but so these guys have done great hiding the homes behind here. I go to me, a berm that I don't like, and this is where I'm going with this conversation of what I think we need to address as a council, so we can go back to the planning board. If you look at Belmar down on Old Mill Road, you see this here. Now, I don't know how that will ever be something like what we have, with the others. And the other two, I just gave an example. There's others in this town that have great berms, they've done great landscaping. Can you go to the next one? Continue on. I mean, it just looks like throwing up, some pine needles up there and throw out some trees and a couple, plants. And along through, there's a lot that are dead. You can't help that. They'll die, and I'm sure they'll replace those. But this is the kind of thing I think we need to have some attention to, or we will have more of this kind of thing in town where, we just don't want to see this kind of thing. It's just not good representation of the neighborhood. Is there any more? Now I'm gonna have you come back to that. Same type deals, just different angles of this berm here. And the house sits right there next to it.
That's a setback issue.
I feel it's a setback issue as well too. I've asked Greg to go out and look into that, and he's looking into the setbacks of this neighborhood and see what we need to do. Is there any more? Okay, go back to the other, keep going back one more. So my thing here is this, council. What do you think? I'm throwing this out here about having some kind of language in having a landscaping design in with when someone does a berm, you can have some kind of landscaping design so we know that it's going to be to the caliber, to the quality, to the whatever that's going to represent a neighborhood. If you're paying million plus for a home and you drive into it every day and it looks like that, I'm like, oh my gosh. So any kind of comments?
Well, I'm all for, the very nice ones that you were showing in the first few photographs.
Mm-hmm.
But, my question is, what can we write that is going to be enforceable, that meets the letter of, the state law, county law, whatever.
Right.
Again, I'm all for it, but I just want to make sure if we're doing something that's going to be enforceable.
Well,
I think that's why we sent it to staff to review and figure out.
Right.
We're not going to figure it out.
Right. And we're not here to figure it out, but I know there are languages in the UDO, and I made copies of it pertaining to berms and what the landscaping should be. But there's nothing in there. We go down, we say, there should be X number of plants per length and, 20 here and 10 trees here and that kind of thing. I think we can tighten it down and be a little bit more specific on this and make these a little bit, more presentable. I mean, what do you guys think?
You just have to make it objective, not subjective.
You got to quantify things to some degree and say they have to be maintained and, replaced if died and whatever. But I think it's really up to staff to figure something out for us here on this, because we can sit here and say all night.
Right. No, and I totally agree. This is just where we get the conversation going to direct staff.
Let them figure it out.
Does that work with you guys?
That's fine.
Okay.
Figure out how to make a nice one.
So I'd like to direct staff to look into, like we said, the berms, landscaping design. How can we upgrade those and make sure they're going to look nice? Also, like Councilman Smith said, berms when there's no trees, it's just out there. Something in the UDO stating, a view shed operating with that.
That we should require berms on the basically flat cow field.
Unforested.
Huh?
Unforested.
Unforested areas.
Yes, exactly right.
The soybean field, and and it's good for both visual aspects of the town and for the occupants of the homes there to protect them from the noise of the roads and whatever. It's a win-win for everybody.
I think it is. I don't see any negatives to it. I'd like to also direct staff to look into the 100-foot buffer between commercial and residential if we were ever to do that.
Yeah. If it isn't on the books, that it needs to be on the books for
Right.
whether it ever happens again or not.
Exactly. So are we good, guys? With that direction? Okay.
So are we going to vote on the actual what's up there?
Yes, we need
The
to.
original proposal.
We need to vote and approve that at this point. So can I get a motion to approve the text amendment as stated, as reviewed by?
I make a motion, we approve this text amendment as stated up on the screen presented by Greg.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
You get
we need a second vote for a statement of reasonableness and consistency.
And
I'll
we
read-
have the standard language.
Yeah, we've got, staff has written, the proposed amendments to the UDO are found to be generally consistent with the adopted land use plan. However, while these amendments do not further any specific goal or policy of the plan, they also do not act contrary to any specific goal or policy, nor would they prevent the administration and implementation of the plan or preclude the fulfillment of the community vision as set forth in the plan. Additionally, the proposed amendments are found reasonable in that they continue to improve upon the organization of existing ordinances and provide additional clarity for staff, appointed and elected officials, and residents.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve the reasonableness clause or statement.
Yeah, just as read. in the-
Okay.
As
and-
written.
As written, and all in favor?
Uh,
Okay, it's unanimous, so we're good. Thank you. Okay, so we are good to move on. All right, the item C is text amendment to the UDO is D 607 is specific process steps for legislative decision. So to make it official, public hearing is open. No signups. Public hearing. You have a comment?
Yeah, I had to put them on the signage.
I didn't see that.
I did too.
Or did they sign up on the wrong sheet?
Oh, no, I see it. I'm sorry. Public comments open. Come on up, Chad.
Okay.
No, my bad. I overlooked it.
That's all right. So as far as the 15 days, I just want to say I'm in favor of it, but one thing, the way it looks like in the packet, it says just 15 days, but my understanding from the direction of council in the last meeting was 15 working days. So my comment was to update that to say 15 working days because Weddington does run on a very limited staff and it provides us lower tax rates. And that's one of the main reasons people move to Weddington is the larger lot sizes, the schools, and the lower tax rates. So I'm all in favor of that and making it with that modification.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Chad. Sorry about overlooking that. Kim?
Okay, I just had some basic questions. So the zoning administrator, I'm assuming that's the town planner? Greg, okay. And then also, I agree with the 15 working days. I think that should be added in there. And then also, I just had a question because with the 15 days, I know that you guys had voted on the last town council meeting. And I know they discussed this at the planning board meeting about just tackling one project at a time, or just sending one project at a time. So if they just did, if Greg did several projects, would the planning board still just handle one project at a time? So then would there be a backlog of projects, or how are we, is that still going to be the case no matter how many?
I think this was to quantify when the application had to be in to be eligible to be on the agenda for the planning board.
Okay.
I think that was trying to clarify that because our application said one thing, the UDOs said something else and was kind of ambiguous. And we wanted to clarify that we wanted a full, complete package in plenty of time for Greg to review before it went to the planning board. And that's
Okay.
the intent of what we're trying to do here.
Okay, I just wanted to be careful with our language because I also didn't want it to be where if Greg did, no offense, Greg, like if so many developers tried to get their application in after 15 days and then they're saying, okay, we want to get before the planning board, we've got it in. I want to make sure that we also protect ourselves, that we still are only tackling one.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with
Okay.
that.
But we
We've
weren't,
already done that.
but
Yeah.
for us, did we talk about the planning board?
Yes.
Okay.
But I will say the
Yes.
planning, okay.
Cool. Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you.
And I will say a comment for us.
Okay.
We discussed it, but we never settled on it. We need to close the public hearing. yes.
Okay, public hearing is closed.
I'd make the comment that we need to add business days because we have to quantify
We
days.
That's what
did,
this was all.
But I don't think this says,
But no,
We
it
did.
didn't. But it's an oversight.
That's why.
That's why we
I
did
was
not
thinking
approve
meeting
the
notes.
minutes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so if you,
But the text amendment we're looking at,
correct.
does it say business days?
No, but that's been very clear to add that tonight. It's a one word, and I'm
Yes.
perfectly fine with a one word change to the
Yeah.
text as shown to the
'Cause
public
I
and
thought
as
it was clear
trust.
at the last meeting you were talking business days.
Right. No, and
And I
again,
didn't see it here.
yeah, and that's why we didn't approve it, because we had some issues with the minutes from last meeting. And
Okay.
so you are correct. So other than that, I mean, as far as, comments about that, you guys are good with?
I'll make a motion, we accept the text amendment change with the addition of business days being inserted.
Right.
And stated from the town planner what he presented with business days.
Okay. All in favor? All right, have unanimous with that change. Okay.
Land use plan consistency statement.
Yep.
Yeah, the statement of consistency.
Yes, there you go.
Please read the statement of consistency for us to approve.
I'm looking, hold on. There it is. Thanks, I got it.
I probably should have made the motion to approve it at the same time, but I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, it's two separate motions.
Yes.
The proposed amendment to the UDO are found to be generally consistent with the adopted land use plan. However, while these amendments do not further any specific goal or policy of the plan, they also do not act contrary to any specific goal or policy, nor would they prevent the administration and implementation of the plan or preclude the fulfillment of the community vision as set forth in the plan. Additionally, the proposed amendments are found to be reasonable in that they continue to improve upon the organization of existing ordinances and provide additional clarity for staff, appointed and elected officials, and residents.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept the statement of reasonableness for this text amendment on the legislative decision.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we're moving on to item D, text amendment, looking for text amendment to UDO. And we're talking about mass grading. This is in D 917D, again, mass grading. And I don't know if we can, if this, and you guys can correct me if this falls underneath this, but since it's talking about mass grading, I assume we can talk about tree canopy at the same time. Or, is that possible in with this?
I guess this is really instruction for staff to look at the current regulation and us give them direction on how to improve it.
Right.
It could possibly have tree canopy implications with it. So I think, discuss it as part of it. But I'm the one who put this in here.
Right.
Because I hate to say it. How many people driven over down on Newtown Road and seen the new project over in Marvin where they cleared off the whole world over there? That's what trying not to have happen here.
Right.
Because that was mostly a forest over there. Now it's a strip pile of dirt. And it is common practice up Potter Road. There's one on the left outside of town. Once you leave the town limits, you see a lot of these things going on. And they take a whole hillside and make it flat and put in just a huge amount of houses. And it's very cost effective and economical for the developer, but it is a visual nightmare. And also the soil in mass grading areas, unless they do a lot of work to it, is about as permeable as this table is right here. It becomes virtually impermeable because you're down to subsoil that is basically not a living organism for another 50 years unless some heavy work's done to it. And we should look at requirements of what we need to do in case there is any mass grading to amend soils. And our current regulation has a lot of stuff like should follow the grade of the land should do this. It has zero teeth in it. It is basically what a developer wants to do with some basic toothless guidelines. And that's the way I read it. It's a small paragraph. It has virtually no teeth in it, and it needs to be looked at because mass grading is a stormwater nightmare unless treated properly. It is a biological nightmare because what typically is happening is they strip the land. Some people are nice and bring back some topsoil and put it on top of it. Some of them put in stuff and amend the soil down to a certain level. Some people don't do much of anything and roll outside on top of it and call it a day. And to me, that is not what we want to see in this town. Every tree is stripped out of the place. And yes, tree canopy does become part of it. But you can do this on a place that's just a cow pasture that has no trees, but has hills, and it becomes leveled. So it various things like that. I am a big opponent of mass grading, and I'll say this: when I was on the county stormwater board, they were recommended doing things to not outlaw it but discourage it, and doing various things like requiring the developer to use one higher level of soil type to run up the stormwater calculation on the property, because it will increase runoff substantially, and or replacing up to 18 inches of good topsoil on top of the subsoil to where things can actually live, and or amending the soil to 18 to 24 inches with compost type materials to make the soil become a living type soil again, because what you get if you don't do something to it is effectively a brick, and water will not go through it. Things won't live in it. That's why you see a lot of places where they stuck a tree here and a tree there and every last one of them died. It's a pot.
Well,
And
I think
they're ugly as hell. I hate to say it that way. They are.
Tag on to what you've been discussing, Tom, when the county forester came and gave us a discussion. I don't know how many folks here were here for that.
He didn't like that.
He specifically discussed the I can't think of the proper adjective, the impact that it has.
It's huge.
When you go and you scrape off that top layer. So I'm all for if we can direct staff to figure it out, to beef it up, to have something enforceable on the books that will discourage that.
Right.
Because as you mentioned, he said it will take decades for that level of soil to get back to where it was once
I'm
it's
told
gone.
50 years.
So.
Right. No, and if I can take this to another level, or the next level too, I think when someone goes in and they're just cutting and mass grading, I know Weddington has been real big on saving the trees and the tree canopy. How do we know if someone is not going in there and just cutting it all down? Well, and if you question them on it, it's like, well, they never were. You didn't have them to start with. It's like, yeah, there were. I feel like there needs to be maybe a tree survey, or you go in and you mark the trees of the ones that's going to be saved and needs to be saved, and then at a certain point you just go back in and you make sure they're there. I don't know what that looks like, but
I think that would be honestly a review of the tree ordinance itself.
Well, and maybe this again is something the staff needs to look at. And how do we protect the canopy? How do we protect the trees? And I can think of
Well, how do we encourage developers to leave contiguous trees?
Right, without in his mind that developer saying, "Well, I'm just going to scrape everything down," and you go down there, it's like what happened? And so I think needs to be a little bit of guideline, a little bit of oversight on that. I mean, do you guys agree? I mean, what do you think?
I do, and I think that we should take as big a step as we can legally to protect our environment. But this is probably not the right time to bring this up, but we have to first define buildable land, which has not been done.
Yeah.
And that goes before any of this stuff, in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was my question in the beginning of this whole thing.
uh,
Karen, do we have what we have? Do we need to add it to the agenda to talk about the things that I sent you in that email?
I believe when
Or are they
we,
working through there already?
I think that we're working through them.
That's all I needed to know, because that addressed a lot of those issues.
it would.
So we've
I just
got,
want to make sure, 100% sure.
right, we've got the easy things queued up,
Okay.
just changing the numbers here and there. And
Yeah.
this,
We
this
moved
obviously
the
takes a little
buildable
bit
land
more,
up
Yeah.
to like
I understand. I just want to make 100%
Mhm.
clear that those items
Mhm.
are in the queue
Right.
to be worked, because they are easy items. They're changing one or two words, changing numbers, and should be able to go through the process readily. And they'll make a huge impact on the UDO.
I think we're making this as hard as it can be.
Is there a timeline
Start
on
with
getting
tomorrow.
this? Could we have this done in the next 4 weeks? Not the
we-
big things, but the little small things like what Tom and Darcy are talking about.
Well, buildable land needs to be next.
That was a very small change to the text amendment that it takes.
Okay, so let's go back to the tree. Could we direct staff to look into how can we preserve the trees? How do we know that they're not being just, mass graded, chopped down? Can you come back with a recommendation? If we do a tree survey, we send somebody out and we mark them or some other. I know in the UDO it talks about putting, fencing around, the drip line and that kind of stuff. I don't think we enforce a lot of that
That might be
stuff.
something I can ask at Trees Union too. I don't know if Keith does that he's supposed to, I think, for the county.
he'll review stuff for us.
Okay.
Yeah, we can ask him to.
But there's nobody to enforce it. That's the problem.
I guess the
Like
question.
really, we don't know till it's too late and then there's a
Right.
penalty, but
And
the
we
trees
don't,
are gone.
we don't have a tree ordinance. It was what our
That was the
protections,
question. Do we have one?
our protections were written into the conservation subdivisions ordinance.
Just the
We
conservation.
we have a tree paragraph. We don't have a tree ordinance.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, I
so
think we ought to instruct staff to create a tree ordinance that covers both conventional and conservation development.
So I do
Correct.
know that Trees Union is trying to push each municipality to be part of, I have to come up with the word. But there's just like a couple things, they make it as easy as possible for you to be, and it's just the minimal thing that you have to do to preserve what you have.
We can, I know other municipalities do require the developer to do a tree survey.
Tree survey.
So that's not something we would do.
No, but it's
They
a
could-
requirement.
They could do it, yeah.
right,
It'd be a
We could add
requirement
that.
but we need to be able to follow up on that too.
and required.
Right.
Yeah.
So can we move forward on doing that and,
Sufficient
Directors
structure.
understood, a brand new tree ordinance is not gonna come to you next month. but-
no, that's,
No, no,
no, you're fine.
We
You're
want those
good.
other things to come first.
Yeah.
Yes,
Low-hanging
okay,
fruit.
okay, good, okay.
Yeah.
All
Like
right,
it's something you can work on.
yes. As if you don't have many more things to
You
work
don't have
on.
enough to do anyway.
Okay, so we're good with that. Let's move on to cul-de-sacs. And this is where I'd like to bring out some discussion with you guys. Primarily because, you look at the last two major storms we've had here in Weddington or the whole area. We've had trees down, we've had some trees down across, roads in subdivisions. My concern has always been for the town is safety. I mean, we look back at our, our deputies, hiring deputies now. Here's another level of safety concern. With cul-de-sacs. I know there's, excuse me, there's cul-de-sacs that are 37, 38, 3,900 linear feet long in town and no exit on the end. I've driven down them. And I reached out to Fire Chief McClendon with a conversation with him this past Wednesday. And I said, I want to pick your brain. I want to know what you had to say about, what are your big things with cul-de-sacs? He said, primarily, a cul-de-sac, his frustration is a cul-de-sac that is so long, it doesn't have an exit on the end. So when you try to get in there, if these trees, and this is him, trees, and he said, I have nothing against planting trees. It makes the subdivision look great. Over time, over the years, 15, 20 years down the road, if the HOA doesn't maintain them, now these trees have grown up. Yeah, they look nice, but they're now into the street. He said, when you get a ladder truck, when you're having to go into a subdivision with a ladder truck, and you're hitting these trees, he said it creates a problem. He said there's an issue there. There's an issue with the width of these streets because say there's a party going on. Somebody has a birthday party or a
Parking on
super
both
party.
sides.
They're parking all over the street. And now the road it's built to DOT standards. So everybody's building to DOT, but DOT's not wide enough. He said, when you're bringing in a big, again, he kept using a ladder truck as an example. He said, you're having a problem. You can't get down the streets. He said, when you get down to the end of the cul-de-sac is not big enough because now some subdivisions have built teardrop in the middle of them. And he said, and they've built the hard curb. He said, so you can't drive the ladder truck up on it. He said, if you're going to do that, then you need to have almost it's
what you have the roundabout.
a roundabout is exactly what I was about to say. Have it sloped so you can get a ladder truck up on it, but still have it wide enough so you can bring in and turn a truck around in there. And this goes also for school buses. I mean, this is, common sense for, we look at the school buses. He said, those cul-de-sacs are usually built to DOT, but they're not big enough. So I've asked him to get me those numbers. The fire department has come up with numbers, and I've asked him to get me those if he can. And he did it a couple of years ago for another town, and he said he would. So I'm giving you a little heads up or throwing this out there for you guys to talk about it. The 1,200 feet. I asked him, I said, how did we get to 1,200 feet? He said, I can tell you how. He said, Union County, every 1,200 feet requires, where you have water, a fire hydrant. So you put a fire hydrant at the start of the cul-de-sac, then 1,200 feet down, you have to put another fire hydrant. So the cul-de-sacs usually don't go beyond, a lot of 1,200 feet because you got more fire hydrants that you're having to put down through there. So they have a 1,200 foot of hose on all their trucks. But he said, I have several problems, it's the width, the cul-de-sac, the long cul-de-sacs, or the end of the cul-de-sac, and the long cul-de-sacs that don't have an exit. You can't get in there. If a tree has fallen down and you have to get an emergency vehicle in there, you can't. So I'm throwing out a lot of stuff here just to ask you guys, do we need to look at our neighborhoods, look at the cul-de-sac links? Do we need to shorten them for safety's sake? I'm just going to throw out 600 feet, whatever it may be. So we don't have these big, long cul-de-sacs, that could create safety issues down the road. So, as stated, there are concerns from fire department. So, does all this make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to get your input on this. Do we need to shorten, widen the street, shorten the cul-de-sacs?
So there's no countywide, statewide DOT type regulations dealing with cul-de-sac widths, lengths, turnaround design, or anything like that. There's got to be a minimum standard.
The minimum is DOT standards,
Okay.
and he says it's not enough.
I don't know, can we even control the roads?
You can answer that question.
Okay. Would you,
Okay. When it comes to the standard, it's usually not for a ladder truck. It's thinking more of a bus making a 3-point turn, and that's what we did with Cutting Street. I can't think of a subdivision that has a cul-de-sac that can support a ladder truck.
yeah.
And that's where they get into, I guess, that secondary access where it's all hose pull at that point. In most cases, in most jurisdictions I work in, usually it's somewhere between 30 and 100 where they need a secondary access, as far as lot count. So,
So what do you mean by 30 and 100? I'm sorry.
30, so a lot of times, I know I've got a project over in Gastonia where the secondary access has to be open once we have the 100 lot. I've seen jurisdictions where that number is as low as 30 lots, you know, so, I haven't seen it much below that, but that's where people start, and that's talking with those fire marshals in different jurisdictions, so it does vary.
Right.
But that's where that seems to be that threshold where they start getting concerned, like, okay, do we have too many houses with only a single point of access?
Right, and that's where his concern with Chief McClendon's concern was.
Sure.
And because again, his concern was hey, and that's why I called him. The trees grow up over time. We have these bad storms. Now, if Lord forbid something happens, you can't get down in there. And so that's why I'm raising the question. Again, this is going to be the process, but we're getting it started.
Well, I would say just based on what we've discussed tonight, I would think that we could probably have more success dealing with the length of how long would consider allowing them rather than how big the cul-de-sac and the sloping of the anything that's down there and how wide the road needs to be, because I think that's probably going to fall back to DOT standards. But I would certainly be open to having staff take a look at what the current usual and customary design standards are within the county or within the state. If there's anything that can give us guidance on some of the things that Chief McClendon's concerns address.
Right.
So that's where I would be with it.
I'll say this, I do take what you said heavily on secondary access after so many lots in a development requiring it separately from even the cul-de-sac decision, that if you get to a certain point, you have to have a secondary point of entry, because it helps with cul-de-sacs more than likely, but it helps with the overall safety issue in a neighborhood.
Right.
And that's a number that if you looked at it, could be codified readily and not be a mathematical, exactly how many feet is this cul-de-sac. It's when you have over X number of lots in a development, it had area access point. I think that is just as important is the way I see it.
And we do have that on record, Councilman. The standard is 15 lots. So a subdivision with greater than 15 lots requires a second point of ingress egress. And based on tonight, that's what some people are opposed to because of the connectivity.
Okay, so have we seen that brought up in some of our other subdivisions that have big numbers and really don't have the second point? I have not seen that discussed with some of those developers. So
Are we as a town enforcing that? I guess I'm not questioning you, but I'm saying,
have we been?
Have we been?
I don't know how old it is. I don't know how long it's been on our books.
I can say yes, having developed several subdivisions in the town, that it has been enforced for at least 10 years.
Okay, good.
Okay. As far as the town of Weddington, do we enforce that?
But that's on the checklist of requirements for developments.
Okay.
So that wouldn't be ignored. But like I said, they said 10 years. Like Highgate only has one in and out.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's several others.
I mean, there's a lot of existing neighborhoods that should not fall under
Highgate
the.
has the emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I went down into, I think it's Harlow Crossing, and I think that's like 3,900 feet long. And it did have like a little gravel road at the end with a gate back there. But I don't know, I think that goes into, I'm not sure what neighborhood it goes into, but we need to be more cautious and careful about, safety requirements for these long cul-de-sacs and long streets.
Yeah.
And could I get a
I don't think we need a motion. I think that this is purely.
directive to, no, it's
direct
not,
staff.
yeah. To look, can you guys look into this and come back at
in a future date.
Yeah. Not asking next month.
What are you looking for?
Recommendation on maximum length of cul-de-sacs.
Right.
I'll state it this way. I've heard it said that, some of our neighbors do it differently or do it better. I think we can start at looking what our neighbors do, and what the comparable numbers are. And so we'll just line up our 1,200 feet versus their standards.
See what
See how it
works
looks.
well.
Right,
That's
right.
it.
Also, if you also add into that street width, if we need to get a ladder truck down in there or helping a school bus to get down through there.
I will say that doing road design isn't in our best interest because we don't have any roads. We have state roads or private roads.
Yeah.
Even the
State
road design standards we have in
Can that be
code, I
required?
don't think they're very valuable because we don't own, maintain, or design them.
No, not own it, but be a requirement in the UDO for a neighborhood. Is that possible?
So there's some new law about what we can do with roads. Unfortunately, I would have to reread it, but it does have, it doesn't require NCDOT standards anymore. You actually might know better than I do on the private roads.
I had not heard that one.
Yeah, I've got to, let me review, it was just passed. Let me review that and see where our guardrails are on that.
Okay.
And I'll let you know.
Okay, let us know, because I'd like to include that as well, the length
If
and,
legal.
and the width. Right,
Yeah.
that's what she's going to look into. So, and that cul-de-sac at the end, and if it's, again, requirements to, like a roundabout. If you end up doing a teardrop thing in the middle, then it needs to be where a ladder truck or whatever can pull up on it. School bus can pull up and turn around, do a 3-point turn.
Mountable curve.
Yeah. So,
I
it's-
know this, my old neighborhood, the school bus doesn't go past the last street, and whoever the kids are at the end get to walk up, whether it's rain or shine. And it's because the cul-de-sac isn't adequate at the end, especially when somebody parks there.
Yep.
That
Yep.
really throws a wrench into it.
So if staff can look into these things, that would be great. All right, so we're going to move forward. Is that good with you guys?
Yes.
Okay. Here's the,
No, I have one thing to add. We added.
Environmental
The environmental
yes,
sensitive
it's environmental sensitive areas. And so I'll let you lead with that, Tom.
Yeah, in the land use plan, we called for regulation of it to add in to the land use plan somewhere, environmentally sensitive areas to be regulated or designated, and they could be designated as unbuildable property. I don't think we have any ordinance whatsoever that legally describes and or has a place for it in the UDO. So that needs to be developed and looked at as something that, the way it was termed, deemed environmentally sensitive area, deemed by the town council. And that's what was in the land use plan. And if the council decides that someplace in the future is environmentally sensitive, it could be deemed by a vote, but it needs to have an ordinance in place to allow it. And that's all I'm asking for at this time, because I could think of several places that could be deemed that, but until we have an ordinance, I'm not going to make any recommendations.
Okay, we're good with that?
Fair enough to do?
Fair enough.
Okay,
Okay.
we're good? Okay, all right, so I'm going to move on to the discussion of fee schedules. I know the staff was looking in how to, what we need to do to up that. We haven't done that in a number of years, and so how can we improve that? And I want to add some other things to that, but go ahead, either Karen or Greg. Is there something that how can we change this?
I had started comparing, changing it is just a matter of you guys voting it and implementing it. I was comparing our fee schedule to Mineral Springs, Marvin, Waxhaw, and Wesley Chapel. So I was working on a spreadsheet for that.
So we don't have that yet, right?
I've got an incomplete spreadsheet, but
Yeah.
we do have, I put the fee schedule in your packets. It's really not that different, honestly. Did I say Waxhaw? I included Waxhaw because they do their own erosion and sediment control like we do. So And those are kind of set fees by the state, I believe.
Well, I think ours should be, you know, if you're looking at towns of similar size, population densities and things like that, that's what we need to be comparing ourselves to. I would think as far as what would be considered reasonable and standard, you know, you don't want to make a $10,000 fine for something that another town's, you know, doing $1,000 for, something like that. But especially on the fee schedule, we do need to make that language now regarding the fire departments for the like false alarms.
Yeah,
Because
that's where it was.
It mentions Wesley Chapel, Stallings, and Providence.
Okay.
So we need to, whatever
Yeah,
the,
I could not find that back. I read it and I couldn't figure out where in the world it was.
so, but,
And that
but
was,
but
that just slipped through.
that'll just need to be a pen in your.
Yes, it's July.
Yeah.
text
And I'm not
change.
so worried about fire alarm schedules. I'm looking more for development fees, things that
Correct.
y'all have to touch here in the town office. And, you know, Greg spends and Karen, y'all spend an inordinate amount of time working on these development projects. And the fees should compensate what the town pays y'all to a reasonable degree. Because that's what your work's being done for. Reasonable. I didn't say all, I said reasonable degree.
You guys just know.
But, you know, you get paid by the town needs to collect reasonable amount of fees to help offset the work that you do for us. And I feel that's why you're here. Developers should basically having work done at the expense of all the taxpayers of the town. They should be basically paying their way to a large degree, and it becomes almost a fee for use type product. And if a neighborhood we charge, let's say $2,500 for, I can see, you know, doubling some of these things, you know, because if somebody's going to do a multi-million-dollar project, and if $2,000 or $3,000 makes a difference in the economics of it, they got a bigger problem.
Yeah, my brief 2 cents on that is, as it was amended in 2021, everything's conditional zoning. Conditional zoning is a flat fee. The degree of difficulty and time for conditional zoning cases varies significantly.
Yeah.
Some that fee might be fair. For some of these big subdivisions,
Well,
the fee should be much higher.
You know, something that goes more on the number of lots to be part of the factor. You know, if you get over a certain number of lots, there's additional fees, things like that. You know, it's one thing for the guy doing the 15, 20 lots or whatever it may be. But then the guy comes in with 50, 7,500 or whatever it may be. It needs to be some proportion that, I hate to say it, we're spending a lot of time. We spend time, they spend time.
Right.
And developer, I hate to say it, gets off cheap.
Right.
And everybody else in the town is subsidizing. That's where I see the problem.
So I think there's room to increase. I know,
And how we do it is,
right.
Yeah.
And so I think we can substantially increase some of those rates. I think they were too low.
have you seen it? Because you've been around several places, variability on the size of the developments that make the thing go up, step up.
Yeah, I don't want to confuse the matter too much, but as I see it with this compared to other municipalities I've worked at, a lot of our fees fall in the subdivision realm. So preliminary plat, final plats, and technical construction documents. Those are maybe collected on the end when you know exactly what's going to be built, but we're not collecting as much, or we're spending a lot of time in the conditional zoning phase before anything gets built.
Yeah.
So if they have a flat fee of $1,650, we're stuck in that phase of development for months and months and months. So that's not flexible. That's not scaling. The back end portion, when you talk about subdivisions and final plats, that is accurate and that does scale. But since we changed to everything being conditional zoning in 2021, our fee schedule doesn't necessarily line up with that. It lines up with the old way of doing things.
Do you see at a certain level, it seems to ramp up on the size of a subdivision?
There is, there's older kind of land development concepts like sketch plan, preliminary plat, final plat. Those are on a lot basis. But again, since we're dealing with the conditional zoning realm so much and spending so much time in it, including the public participatory methods.
Yeah.
I think that's where we need improvement.
Yeah.
Is on the front end.
So do you think there's ways to scale that by the size of the development to help us?
Absolutely.
You can have a general increase and then every 25 watts it goes up. I'm just throwing a number out there.
Yeah,
To do something that compensates for the complexity of the development.
I think there's room for improvement. Absolutely. Yeah. As far as the details of our fee schedule, and since that's adopted on a yearly basis, I'll trust our town administrator to work through some of those technical details. But does planning staff support higher fees? Sure, you bet.
Okay.
And Leslie does too.
Yeah.
That's more
Well,
revenue.
So I'd like to add in too, going back to what we were talking about, mass grading and tree canopy. I didn't see anything in there if someone comes in there and says, and just goes wild and cuts everything and like, oops, I didn't really know you guys did this. Well, there needs to be some kind of fines for mass grading and just going in and just doing willy-nilly cutting. So I'd like to see, something dealing with in the fine section of tree canopy and mass grading. Can we look into that? Is that abnormal? Legal?
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just issued a $57,000 fine for somebody who cut down a heritage tree in one of my towns. So
57,000 who cut down a heritage tree?
For cutting down a heritage tree. So yeah, the numbers are pretty huge.
Yeah.
So I think we have room to increase some of our fees and add some guardrails. Let's put that.
That would require us adding more to the ordinance.
Oh, yes. And so that.
We can do that.
Yeah.
We have that ability.
Yeah.
So
we need a tree ordinance first.
Well, that's part of the tree ordinance. So the penalties are part of the ordinance. And so the penalties, fines and penalties and mitigation procedures are part of the ordinance.
let me ask you this. Is there anything that's big that we are missing that we need protection with for Weddington?
I mean, I don't think not really, because the big issue usually is going to be stormwater runoff and erosion control and that kind of thing. We have a very solid ordinance that covers that. It's state statute. The fines are huge and the state statute covers. So generally your big damage to neighboring properties is for people who do the mass grading and don't do the appropriate erosion control. And the fines, we have those fines in our ordinance now, and we have our erosion control ordinance that has state level fines that are quite robust.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we've got that one covered. That's usually the biggest damage.
Okay. So we just need to add mass grading and cutting trees.
Yeah, and it's just they have grading plans, and so there's ways that we can regulate things like grading phasing. So when they bring their plan to town, you can grade for phase 1, or you can grade for roads, but not the lots. I mean, there's ways that you can require the developers go through the process to avoid the I call it the white pipe jungle. When they shave it and put the white pipes in.
Nothing, yeah.
Right. Right. Now I'll ask this as to the staff: are we enforcing our rules and regulations? And I know, Greg, you're new. Have we been doing that? And you don't have to answer. But the thing is, I'd like to, if we haven't been enforcing, we need to enforce our our rules and regulations.
What do we do?
And
What
that's
do we
it.
need to be able to enforce?
Right,
it?
right.
It is manpower,
Right.
or whatever it may be.
Right.
Yeah. Do we enforce our own ordinances? Yes. Am I always out on the site or in the field to observe these things? No. And so we rely on subcontractors and other individuals, particularly during active construction and grading, to investigate those things. Labella or whatever consultant we have. We can look at, their schedules, their timeliness, their staffing, and from their reports that they gather, we can further analyze our our fees and our penalties
Okay.
based on what they observe.
Okay. So is this something we need to swing back around to, look at the updates at some point next month or whatever of this discussion?
I think we can make this discussion really broad if we wanted to, and this could be a lengthy discussion. Stormwater is a particular concern of staff and residents. It's been taking up a lot of time with some missteps by certain developers in town regarding stormwater and grading. So I think it is something we need to button up and assure our citizens that we're doing the best of our ability to.
Right.
So I think that's worth following up on.
Okay. And then there's silk fencing, there's been some issues with that. So, and I know it's a pretty hefty fine too, I think it's 5,000 a day.
Yeah, those, there's biweekly inspections by the people we hire. The developer hires somebody to go out there weekly for those inspections, and those are put in a report. And so if corrective actions are needed, typically the developer is contacted first, given a week to fix those things rather than a fine being issued. And those reports are, made by, in our case, Labella, so we have those records that people are going out there and looking at them. I just want to state that on record for people who are concerned about, are we looking at this enough? Are there people looking at it? We do that to meet the intentions of our ordinance. We just might need to have some internal discussions on, some of the reports aren't showing violations that I could see as a layman are a problem. So we may just need to talk about,
Why? They're just not doing their job, or?
I think that's something we could talk about at a different time, but we
It's
enforce
kind
our
of
own.
maddening, right? Like there's rules, there's penalties, follow the rules or you pay the price.
No one is more frustrated than me.
Okay.
I can promise you.
How do we back you?
How can
to
we
get-
help you?
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about our fees and fines as directed by you guys here now. If we want to have a separate discussion about stormwater, let's have that separately.
Okay.
I think that, in my opinion, I'll speak for myself, the fines need to be as high as you can within a reason, because rules are rules. They have the rules, they follow the rules, or they get penalized and make it hurt. I mean, I don't see a huge line on our income sheet from builder fees, and I know there's violations, so that's frustrating. Our taxes are going up and they're not paying price for things that they're doing wrong, that they know are blatantly wrong.
So where do we go here to swing back around? Like I'd mentioned, mass grading, tree canopy, that kind of thing, cutting trees. What do we need to do to get this in place and to
We're
get
started.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion. I'm just going to throw this out here. It might be a good an idea to ask, even form a subcommittee of the planning board to help with these big ordinances. Many towns do, they call it a land development code advisory board or something along those lines. And they actually engage planning board members to help gather tree ordinances from various places and come up with a new ordinance for the town. And that would just help take a load off of staff on kind of gathering this stuff. But it would be an absolutely appropriate role for either the whole planning board or a subcategory of planning board if they were interested. And that way, I think you could keep the ball rolling faster. I think it would just be a way of getting things moving and keeping them moving because of the limited staff. So just a thought, if that was something that you all would be interested in.
Sure. I mean,
Ask the planning
anything
board to do.
to alleviate distress and burden on these guys.
And
But
is it someone we currently have hired? I know you don't want to probably say.
Yeah,
I can
let's
talk
talk
to you
about that
after.
offline.
Okay.
So, okay. So I'll get with you guys on trying to get with the planning board to
Yeah, if that's something you all would like to.
Would you guys be interested in that?
That sounds very reasonable.
And Tom,
You either get with a subcommittee of the council or a subcommittee of the planning board. One of
Either
the
way.
other is what you do.
Well, we could do this, the planning board, but it still needs to go through the council for approval.
Of course.
Sure, that is true.
Absolutely.
Everything has to go
Yeah.
through us.
So, So,
It's just they can do some of the legwork and even get the first draft done, and then it can go through staff and everybody in the regular process. But that way, it's somebody's focused on it, and I mean these are clearly priorities for y'all to get these ordinances done, and that way you can have somebody who's focused on it and actually pulling all the background information together and giving people options and a draft to start
right,
with.
right, because I'd like to get into, enforcing these things. Okay,
Yes,
all right.
yes.
All right, cool. So we're good with this subject. So, all right, we're going to move to item 14. We're getting down to the end. Code enforcement report. And that would
It's
be-
long.
Yeah, it is very long.
Good lady.
And I don't see the word fines being there
Yeah.
to any degree.
We sent out 4 notices of violation last week, and they have 2 weeks to fix.
Do we,
Because most of them are the same problems that have been on there for
Yeah.
a length of time.
And now we're gonna have to we have to, like, 4915 Wellington Matthews Road, we're gonna have to tag onto their taxes.
The corner.
so are we,
But here's the tough part, they do a little bit and they show good faith effort and then they stop. So it's, honestly, I feel like anything I can do that doesn't cost me money to clean it up, because I don't want to have to clean it up. I don't want the taxpayers to have to clean it up. But if I can keep sending them, nagging at them, and they keep doing something,
but look at the
Let's
time and
see how it
effort you
goes.
put into that, doing that each time.
well, we have a contract. So we've got a new contract, a new code enforcement guy who goes out and does all that.
Who is our new code enforcement?
It's still through the Central Lina, it's just, his name is.
Different person.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it seems that if we send a letter, they do a little bit, we send a letter, they do a little bit, and they keep staying in a constant state of violation.
They're playing the game.
Sooner or later, you gotta say, this has gotta be fully remediated, or here's the fine that will be coming within 30 days.
Right.
And when they don't fully do it, send them a fine and listen to the squawk.
Right, well, and we did, we've upped it, they've got their second violation letter. I think we sent two second violation letters.
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
We have to summarize, we have a new code enforcement person with the same company who shares our interest in improving the program, changing the way it's organized. I'm taking a more active role in code enforcement, actually drafting the letters.
Okay.
And so we recognize that we can do better, and we're going to do better with this new situation.
Well, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
owe it to all the citizens that we do better.
Exactly, because I think we've sort of done it, developed a reputation for I understand on
Being
the
nice
street,
guys.
being guys we don't enforce. And so I'd like to change that. And it helps the town. It's not trying to make it tough for people, but it
Follow the rules.
yeah, it just helps the
follow the
town and the
rules.
value of the town. And so let the new guy know that we're serious as well, Yeah. So, okay. Update from our finance and tax collector.
All right, you have the monthly financial statements and tax report in your packets. We just finished the first quarter of the year. You also have your quarterly ARPA update. And with the next check run that will be done, we will have officially spent all of our ARPA money. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So that will be done and gone and done away with. Next month, I will bring you the SCIF state grant update. So I
Okay.
can't have that for you this month. And that's all I got.
Okay. And I sent you an email about a breakdown too. So just give me that at some
Oh,
point.
yeah.
Yeah,
I have-
just,
I have it for you.
Okay. All right,
In
cool.
general, Leslie, are we pretty much on track with budget where you expect us to be?
Yes.
That's the most important thing, because
Yes.
until you get the big tax collections come in late in the year,
It-
you're really, it's all expense and not much
Like I
revenue.
said, the November and December reports make a big difference.
Yes. Yeah, December, all the mortgage companies pay.
Right, yes.
Right.
Some of them come in November. a lot
Yeah,
of
but
them, so.
by end of December, they'll all be
Right.
paying.
Okay. All right. Update from, and that's all you guys for Leslie. Update on from town planner and town administrator.
All right. Yeah. You want to go
You
first?
go first.
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot going on. Everybody knows that. We had Classica up here and give their presentation today for the Hemby Road project. So that's a RCD conservation type subdivision. That's at the phase of the public presentation to this board. As stated, they did things a little out of order. We'll address that at a future time, whether that was adequate or not. But their ambition is to complete all those steps as required in the UDO. Deal Lake is, has been on the docket for going on a year now. They are, based on their most recent submittal, they are seeking to go to the planning board this month. So that would be the end of October. They've had their 2 community meetings. They've had a TIA completed. They're on what I would call their 3rd major revision, which is a traditional, conventional type subdivision. Again, that's located on Weddington Road. And that's seeking to go to the planning board at the end of this month. I won't necessarily address people being in queue or in order. I'm going to state where everybody's at. Ray Providence, they're still tabled from June. I have not heard anything from them regarding sewer access, so that will not be on the planning board agenda for October. 149 South Providence Road, the Empire Project, which is on the Weddington Green site, they're still to be determined. They do not have set date. We've met with them and had correspondence throughout the months, but they're just working out their site plan, and they are very cognizant of kind of sewer capacity or confirming sewer availability at that site, what their septic would look like. And so that's primarily the main delay there. They're still moving forward, just doing their due diligence. 7112 Newtown Road, had 3 community meetings for that so far. I got an email from the applicant last week that they are hoping to go to the planning board soon, but they still don't have some of their traffic information. So let's just say that's to be determined. I can't confirm that would be ready for this month.
Can I suggest, like I've mentioned to you before, that they come to us? I know they're probably, I won't say grandfathered where they didn't have to, but I would highly suggest they come and do this process.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to share with that.
Okay.
Share an email to them with that information tomorrow.
Okay.
Just
Please.
make sure they're aware of that.
Okay.
The Keystone Deal Road development, that's called Elysian at Weddington now. That went to the planning board in the end of last month, so at the end of September. Could have been eligible for this month, but staff and others have had productive meetings with them to try to even improve their subdivision more, possibly add a 100-foot buffer to that project. And so we anticipate that will come back soon, but was not ready for this meeting today. As stated, the applicant withdrew from being held today. They were lined up to have a meeting today and a public hearing today.
Right.
That did not occur. We're just waiting on a little more time for that. And then Plifka project, 3700 Providence Road. That information has been put on our website. Some additional documentation from, broadly speaking, engineering perspective about site distances, landscaping, setbacks, some other things that the planning board found was deficient the last time and recommended tabling it. And so I do anticipate that as old business could be ready for the planning board meeting here in October.
Okay. You're next.
Got the insurance adjuster estimate for the porch repair. I think I have to try and again work on it after Thanksgiving. I have the sheriff's office contract, and I will forward that to you with some clarifications that Chief Deputy Underwood sent to me for your review.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Could you give us just a little more clarification on a little more meat to what that comment was?
For the
What are the,
the concerns that were raised
Yeah.
were, making sure that we have around the clock coverage and all of that, and that basically will be, they'll do their best. They're gonna assign with the different squads that are specific hours.
So we will be covered?
Yes.
That's all that counts.
Chief Underwood, Deputy
Yeah.
Chief Underwood called me this past Wednesday or Tuesday. And I wanted to know if we're still interested. It's like, yeah, we're still interested. And he said, I'm just going to get the contract to you guys, just like what you had said. and I made sure those things as well. And they are putting it out there for
Hiring.
yeah, they're posting the positions now.
That is
And-
good.
And I made a comment. I said, when will we have boots on the ground per se? And he said, hopefully in the next month or two, couple months. I said, by the end of the year. He said, oh, I feel confident by the end of the year. So that's what he told me. I don't know if your conversation.
Thank you.
So cool. And we're good. Transportation update. I'll just give 60 seconds because of the time. Pay attention to CRTPO. Last month, NCDOT, they're pushing to have just like the north 77 north tolls, how they had Centric come in and do the toll roads, the express lanes up there. They're looking and pushing for that in the south also, from downtown past Carowinds down to the state line. And right now, I pushed back several months ago and said, hey, your cost was way too much. They had for 11 miles, $4.2 billion. Now they got to $3.7 billion for 11 miles. And so they're pushing for a thumbs up or a vote this next meeting. And so a lot of us are having a hard time with that because of the way they do tolls on the north side. And because it's just stupid expensive and a lot of people don't use them because of that. And traffic's backing up. Yeah. And the toll line the express lanes are wide open. So the big pushback is like, we don't want to do that. We're not doing it. And of course, DOC says, it's very successful up there. And we're like, no, it wasn't. So anyway, that's coming up this next next meeting, and sort of making the news. And I'll say this real quick. Waxhaw came up for a vote on their Waxhaw bypass. And it was voted down by the commissioners, county commissioners voted it down. Mineral Springs, Mayor Becker had words to say against it. I spoke up as Weddington and said, it's going to create a lot more traffic. If Polo Grounds gets built and all that comes open, it's going to create a lot more traffic coming up 16 for us. So we sort of got into a back and forth deal. And so finally the chair said, we got these towns battling it out here. We're not going to do anything with this. We're not going to have a vote on this. And so it's been tabled until we figure it out. And so that's my report in a nutshell. So council comments as we end up?
I just want to thank everyone for your input because it's valued. So whether you're listening or talking, especially all you troopers who made it through a 2 water bottle 3-hour meeting, we appreciate you. And thank you.
Yes.
Thank everybody who made it to the bitter end, and I hope it was y'all thought it was a productive meeting. I did. It's a lot of ground got covered. And again, I want to thank Deputy Wren for all his efforts in keeping us safe. I talk to him probably every other week when he patrols through our neighborhood, and usually I catch him, talk to him a little bit. And I've talked to a number of the other neighbors in our neighborhood who really appreciate him coming through and doing their patrols during the day, and they see him other times too. But I see him during the day when I'm walking my dog typically, and he comes through and he creeps through and he is really looking. He didn't like he's just zooming through. He is going very slow, looking for things that are suspicious. And I know one thing he told me is that this gang that has been terrorizing us, Mecklenburg County, they call them the ghost because they can't figure them out. Nothing else, but he called a ghost, and that was the guys in Mecklenburg County thought that was incredible. Let's put it that way. They called a ghost in Union County, but he does a great job, and we owe him a round of thanks for what he does for us.
Well, this will sound repetitive, but thank you to all the folks that came out this evening, especially the ones that stayed here for our longer than usual session, but has been said before, we had a lot of important information to go over. We did that. I think we've certainly made progress on a lot of many things. My thanks to town staff once again. The amount of work that y'all get done for the size staff that we have should impress anybody that knows anything about running an organization. Y'all impress me every time, all the time. And I would be remiss without mentioning the actions of our town administrator, Karen Dewey, who had the foresight to delay the town hall opening until 10 o'clock. So that when what you see when you walk out here happened to the side of the building, we didn't have anybody in the building. We didn't have any citizens here for town business. And Karen for the W.
Yes.
Good call.
Yes. No, I want to say thank you guys too. You know, you guys go through, you handle a lot of stuff. And so I know sometimes we get on your nerves too, because of being involved and, and shooting your emails all the time and whatnot. So I appreciate your patience with us, and I appreciate what you guys do for us. And again, thank you guys for hanging with us. And I want to back up to the crime thing. I will continue every time that I get information from law enforcement, send out, through social media with different ones, let them know what's going on, because I think it's critical that we all know what is going on, and we can all stick together on this until they catch these cats and we get this thing put away. So, and I won't send out stuff that will alarm people or, make people nervous, but I think we all, need to know what's going on. So anyway, okay. Anything else?
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We're good. Thank you guys.
There we go.
There we're good.
Darcy's going to beat me again.